Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Inferno Cast, episode 055. I am Fox, host of this podcast and of YouTube's Inferno Fox Gaming channel. Inferno Fox Gaming has content regarding RPGs, Nintendo, and retro gaming. The Inferno Cast here is on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and more. And friendly reminder to moderate video game playing, to touch grass, and help your partner, parents, or roommates around the house. And before we get into our topic here, let me introduce our fantastic, wonderful, superb cast and crew. We have Stormrosesky of the Twitch and YouTube channels of Stormrosesky. Storm, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with my nasally self.
And always great to have you here as well. And next up, we have Jamie Owls, 87. She is my partner and partner in crime. And you can catch her here on Inferno Fox Gaming for our Games We Are Playing series. Jamie Owls, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here as well.
And next up, we have Jason the 13th of the YouTube channel. Jason the 13th, not just a clever name. It is everything that is honestly not so scary because, Jason, you've got some fun Pokemon and Zelda content, right?
I do. Should I wear a hockey mask to make it scarier?
I'm gonna say yes.
Yes,
I think that's a great idea
do it.
for the month of October on our Scarefest. So that's a little tease. We got some fun things coming for October. And speaking of, well, not scary, we have Hillbilly Hillslud. He is a good friend and resident Hardicus. Yep, I had that backwards. That is Hillbilly Hardicus. He is our good friend and resident hill slut. Hardicus, thank you so much for joining us. We missed you.
Hey, I'm glad to be back. It was interesting few weeks there.
My
What
gosh.
do you mean he's good? What do you mean he's good?
I'm the fabulous one.
Uh-huh. Sure. I
With
want to
the,
live in your world.
You
with
don't.
those
You don't.
luscious red locks you got there.
You live in a circus.
Oh,
Oh
okay.
man. And next up we have Astrimedes. He is the developer and co-owner of Second Place Games. Astrimedes, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. And I couldn't help but wonder from your opening comment if there's a personal story behind reminding people to stop playing games and help their partner around the house.
Yes, because according to some very unscientific polls, video games are, and this is at 90%, the most objectionable form of behavior for males, according to females. So, friendly reminders are sent out to our wonderful audience that moderation is key. Never give up your hobbies, passions, or anything like that. But like in anything, it's moderation. Moderation,
By,
moderation.
by
I see. I
scientific
hadn't
polls, do
heard.
you mean Jamie Ells?
No, surprisingly, as far as I know, Jamie Owls is pretty happy with the moderation that we have here, all cattails aside. So, and last and definitely not least, we have Simbu Darkfang. He is the host of live streaming video games gameplay on the Scurryface channel that is on Twitch. They just retired the Scurryface Wrestling Federation show for 2 months. It will be back in November, so make sure that you follow the Scurryface channel on Twitch for that fantastic content. Simbu, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, always a good time. For the next 2 months, I am doing my horror extravaganza for our Sunday night. So this past Sunday, we started Killer Frequency, and this coming Sunday, I will be finishing that up, and then I'll be moving on a week from Sunday to a game that just released, I believe, today. The Casting of Frank Stone, the Dead by Daylight Telltale, like choose your own adventure story.
Nice. That's excellent. You got some really good games to have that whole horror motif. So definitely looking forward to catching more of that. Although I will admit that I did end up missing the live cast because I was my arms deep in the kitchen sink that is video editing. So we got some fun content here at Inferno Fox Gaming, but live stream stuff. Do they have this? The gameplays are saved on Twitch, right? So if I missed it, I could catch it later.
Correct.
Okay, good.
It was Sunday was actually my longest stream ever at about 4.5 hours.
Oh, nice. Okay, that's good to know, just in case I miss it if I want to catch it. Thank you. So that's a
Yeah,
good
but
news.
they're only there for 2 weeks. So I think so 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks, like the earliest one like drops off kind of thing, I believe.
Gotcha. Kind of like first in, first out.
Pretty
Cool.
much.
That totally makes sense. So we are going to jump into our main topic here, where we are getting swaddled with our favorite comfort food video games. And these are really the games that we like to go back to time and time again. The idea of going back to playing a certain game might sound strange, but there's a lot of reasons why someone would go back and play the same game over and over and over and over again. So, for example, it might bring comfort, especially if a person has a stressful day or maybe even a stressful time in their lives. If it's an online game, it involves interacting with people. That interaction, though, might be soothing for them, especially if they're extroverted. Replaying a single game may bring a person back to where they were when they initially played the game, giving them like that sort of hit of nostalgia. Maybe it's just such an appealing gameplay loop that they like to return to it time and time and time again. Or maybe it's like the familiarity and the predictability of the game itself that is of comfort. So whatever the reason, it's clear that these games can be quite cathartic to routinely jump back into. So we're just going to jump right in here, get the crew's thoughts on not only what their favorite comfort food game is, but also why it is. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go in order of everybody's favorite color from best to worst, because we're going to be starting with mine because mine is yellow. So no, we're not going to do that. Let's
you're scared.
Because I am not scared because I know yellow is the best. It would be hard to determine what the worst is, Jason.
So you're saying blue is the worst?
Jason.
So does that mean Mike or Astrimedes goes last because he's got a blue shirt on?
No, because blue might not be his favorite color. Wait, Astrimedes, is blue your favorite color?
Probably.
Probably. All right, then blue's not the worst. Maybe it's purple.
Shut up.
It is absolutely not purple.
Welcome to the Color Cast.
The color cast. So
Reggie Bev.
yes. So let's well, we're going to do this in reverse age order, and we're going to start off with Simbu. And Simbu's always brings a lot of really interesting entries and everything to whenever we do these like sort of like favorites things. And I have a feeling he's going to have an interesting one here for us. So Simbu, what is one of your favorite comfort food games?
Oh,
That's a creepy
you
one.
asked? It was a bit ominous. A little preparation for Spooktober here on Inferno Fox Gaming Channel. I actually don't have one. Honest to God, I do not have a quote unquote comfort food game that I return to like consistently, so to speak. I mean, outside of, I guess, Fortnite, because playing with, you guys or playing with, the SF crew, I mean, that would pretty much be it. But other than that, I don't really, I don't tend to go back to games that I've already played.
Yes.
For the most part.
Can we have you elaborate as to your reasoning why?
So I always like, for me, it's like, for me being a haunt actor for so many years, working in a haunted house, you're always looking for the next thing. You're always looking to better your situation. You're always looking to improve. So for me, a lot of times consistently going back and going back and going back. Now that doesn't mean that I don't get the hankering to, like, recently I replayed through the Deadpool game for our PS4, a game that could net me what, a couple $100 right now, because I have the physical. But like, there are times where I will have the hankering. Well, I'll return to a game and I'll start playing it. So, like, for example, Lollipop Chainsaw. Not long ago, I hooked up the old 360. I popped in the game and I got through about the first few levels, and I'm like, oof, I got to put this down. The controls are sluggish. It's very it's very unpolished. It's very, it's horrendously unresponsive, as far as controls, but that's what it was back in the day. But back in the day, it was, wow, this is great. So I like to keep a lot of my memories for older games where they are. I like to keep them that way. I don't want them tarnished. I don't want to, go back and go, wow, really? I really played this game. I really liked this game. And that becomes, for me, that's a problem, because if I go back and I start seeing stuff I don't really like, or stuff that starts bothering me, now I've tarnished the memories, and these could be cherished memories. So for my comfort or comfort food game is returning to the memories of playing these games, how I felt, the fun times, like sitting at Jason the 13th's mom's house and playing Micro Machines on the NES. Would I want to pick that game up and play with them again? Probably not, because it's a crappy game. But it was the fun and the joy, and having the experience of the shared experience of, or the experience of playing the game at the time. I've also tried to go back and play Ocarina of Time again. Yeah, that game unfortunately did not age very well. But again, I remember going back to it, my memories from playing it when I first did. And if I like to look back on my memories of old games.
No, that's a really compelling way, and I definitely appreciate you elaborating on that, because the idea of going back to old games continually is not so much a common thing, but I've heard some individuals, or a number of individuals, doing that anecdotally. But I can get behind that, only because of my gaming midlife crisis about 4 or 5 years ago, where since then, Simbu, I have not replayed an old game continuously, save one of my answers. One of my answers is my comfort food single player game, and we'll get to that. But Jamie Owls, I want to ask you, what is your first comfort food game and why?
Uh, I guess for me, when I'm in between where I'm done with a game that I've been playing and thinking on the next game I'm gonna play, but I'm not in the mood to play that new said game, whether it's an old or new. Um, I guess for me, when I'm kind of in a mood where I just want to stick to something that's been familiar to me that doesn't require a lot of like thinking or learning new stuff, I always go back to The Sims. So whenever I'm in the mood to just play something so low key, I just switch onto The Sims, and then I just play on that for a couple of hours, or even maybe just a few days, or weeks even, depending on my mood. I also like to go back to games where I just feel I just need to feel that nostalgia again, which could either be the Spiral trilogy that I've mentioned a few times here on this podcast, or even just some Mario games, like old school Mario games, where I just wanted to go back to something to where it brings back like childhood memories or just happy times in my life. Um, yeah, I consider those are my like comfort food games, and now that we're getting into the fall season, I can definitely see myself playing my Sims because I have the season pass, so I can switch the seasons to fall. So I'll be
Nice.
mad.
So you got the seasons DLC, which lets you
Yeah,
switch it up to that. That's pretty neat. So in a way, for you, the something like The Sims is like a palate cleanser. So you for example just
right.
finished Disney Illusion Island. I did see you switch to Disney Dreamlight Valley, but maybe you would cleanse your palate with a little bit of Sims 4 be before you started Cat Quest 3, for example.
Yeah, I might because there's another game I'm playing on the PS5, but we'll see. I'm kind of leaning towards playing The Sims. And I
Gotcha.
know there's other DLC versions on there that I wouldn't mind getting, so
I wouldn't mind them finally porting that to the frickin' PS5 and take advantage of the PS5 hardware already.
yes. Yeah.
So for me, and I sort of hinted at this with what I mentioned about my entry, one of my own, and with this is kind of like something I've talked about in some of my videos before. This is my Christopher Lee's reading the Lord of the Rings trilogy annually, and that is Final Fantasy IV or Final Fantasy II US. My favorite game of all time is Final Fantasy VI, but nice thing with Final Fantasy IV is that was one of the ones that I really got into RPGs. So I've got a lot of memories of playing that with both of my older brothers. And just, being able to go through and experience the main character, Cecil, main story of redemption, and also a thing where you think these games last like hours upon hours, where this one was, oh, it's 20 to 30 hours. I can usually clear it from start to finish in about 8. So it's a thing where, okay, I've got a nice 200 to 300 page book that I reread every year, at least every year, once a year, both to kind of have the music and everything like that. And kind of goes with what Jamie Owls said regarding like nostalgia. It really hits me with those feels. So one of those games that, yeah, it's one of my comfort foods. It's nice to feel comforted by a game that but kind of what Simba was saying, where I played it as a kid, and to his credit, he had mentioned how, sometimes these games don't age well. Like one of my videos that I mentioned, fortunately, this game has been re-released a number of times. So the newest iteration of it was like a year or two ago on the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster. So hey, it's got its fresh coat of paint. I think it's one of the best versions of it, and it's always nice to replay that. So we are going to ask our hillbilly Hardicus what his one of his comfort food games are and why.
I've mentioned my games here before, but like the Civilization games are something that I'm always going to go back to. Uh, 5 and 6. I mean, I don't remember how many hours I've in 5, but I think I'm close to 2,000 hours in 6. So, it, just one of those games that you can just pick up and pretty easily get into, and it's unlike the previous game you played, because Gandhi may be throwing nukes at you this time, and the next time you might have mostly peaceful uh, go around. So just whenever I'm bored and just looking for something not action packed, or that's going to take a lot of brain power, I just throw on a show or a movie or whatever and play some Civ.
Are you excited for Civ 7?
I am excited for Civ 7. I haven't looked a lot into it. I've been pretty busy the last couple weeks, but I did see a little snippet where like you can take your boats and stuff upriver now. So I thought that was a nice little addition. I'm excited to see what else that they are going to come up with to improve it.
Nice. Yeah, you can't go wrong with a lot of those simulation games. It kind of as Jamie Owl said with Sims 4 and Civ. The Civ games are anything but short. You could play those for hours
Oh yeah.
upon hours.
I mean, you could have some games last, just a short couple hours, and other games that will last you an entire week of playing, depending on, map size and difficulty level and everything like that.
Nice. Kind of reminds me of like Age of Empires, the Age of Empires series. I enjoyed that, like the first one or two, or even maybe I don't remember playing the third one as much, but yeah, it kind of reminds me of that. Although I think the Civ games are a bit more advanced, if
Yeah, if I remember
memory
right, Age of
serves.
Empires is more real-time strategy, but it has been ages since I've played any of those. But if I remember correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, but
No, you are.
I'm pretty
My
I'm
bad.
pretty sure they're real-time strategies.
Definitely. So Jason the 13th, I have an idea as to two of your comfort food games. Probably not gonna, your choices probably won't surprise the rest of the Inferno cast, but
Yeah, no.
hit
It
us with one of your comforts.
won't surprise anyone who's even checked out the channel that I'm kind of need to get back to here. But Pokemon, of course, is the number one comfort food game for me. Um, Even though the storylines beat, there's always shiny hunting, and that's just fun to go find the shinies, and you get to find one of those rare shinies, which I know a couple of games are more common than they are rare, but still, even in those games, when you find the shiny, it always makes you smile. It gives you that hit of a endorphin. How do you say that? Endorphin.
Oh,
Endorphins.
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 There we
Yeah.
go. That's the word I'm looking for.
I like endorphins better.
hmm
And
So, but just finding those shinies, that just get you going and just keeps you playing it.
it's funny. It kind of reminds me of your older brother, where he likes to go out into the trails and everything like that to find stuff. Technically, you're doing the same thing, but in Pokemon form.
Yep.
That's cool. And that can definitely be comforting after like a long day. I
Oh
can get
yeah.
behind that. Astrimedes, how about you now? Before we started, you'd mentioned to us that you might have had multiple type of games just based on the hours of gameplay.
Yeah, for me, I'm sort of like Simbu where like I don't like retreading things if I feel like there's not like something specific that is going to change or something different I'm after, but I do know that there are a lot of games that like are my little sort of like escape. Like for me, it's typically like either, like late at night after work or maybe like early in the morning on a weekend or when my partner's working or whatever and I have free time, games I like to kind of sink a lot of time into. So I had to kind of look over my playtime history in Steam and try to get an idea of what some of those ones from the past might have been. So I sort of have phases over time, basically. So sort of spread out by platform. I sort of put my list together here. So first I try to kind of like remember some console games since I'm not really like a current console gamer. I have been though at times in my life. So I try to remember sort of some console games. I was debating whether I should include Smash Brothers Melee in this or not because in general I didn't really avoid multiplayer games. I only ever played it with Inferno Fox, but I was thinking the thing that made me consider including it was the fact that it was sort of became a like an after work ritual for us a lot of the time to go and play this game. But for me, it was like a sort of like an obsession over getting better at it and sort of learning from you. So it's like that, and that's a theme that I think repeats throughout some of the games I sort of found here. So other console games, there's definitely a while where on Xbox 360, I was playing Geometry Wars on pretty much a daily basis. It might be just one or two games, or it might end up being an involved, hour-long session. But either, depending on the day, I was either, pretty serious about getting better at my score, or really just looking for, I liked there was sort of a nice meditative, any like kind of quick reflexes game like that, in particular when they're like sort of simple like Geometry Wars was in terms of being able to just read everything on the screen all at once and not having to plan ahead your actions too far or anything like that. I like that sort of like meditation or flow, like a lot of programmers talk about like flow state when you're really into something and like your focus and attention is like right there and your maximum competency, whatever. Like I like that feeling. So I think in actiony games, I sort of chase that feeling. So in general, I pretty much all the games I play are sort of turn-based. But another game I used kind of like this was Tony Hawk Pro Skater on, I think it was Pro Skater 2 on PS2. I think that was the one I played a lot with a friend of mine. It became our sort of just hang out, zone out game. We would either play chess or play Tony Hawk Pro Skater as our activity when we were just hanging out. And I never really played the games a whole lot outside of that. I did occasionally play some of the newer ones, but in particular, it was sort of like a time and place comfort food game for me. And the last console one that really stood out to me as like a comfort food sort of game that I returned to many times was Final Fantasy One, actually. Just I loved how different and insane your party could be for such an early game. It was a really nice kind of like self-control, like both challenge level and sort of style of play. And it was, you know what I mean? And it was in an era where, you know, I'm sure a lot of those combinations are nearly impossible in terms of like really being viable unless you're, you know, incredibly good, whatever. I don't know if they necessarily designed everything around it, but they're certainly playable and there's very different approaches you end up having to take. And it's almost like a different game mechanically when you're doing really different things with the party like that. Um, and then so PC games like a little further in the past that were comfort food games for me were the game NetHack I've mentioned multiple times on here. That's sort of an incredibly uh simple presentation, very old school game where you're essentially moving an at symbol around, and then later they had small like tiles. But you know, no animation. You're moving on a little grid, your character around. It's randomly generated dungeon in one of the first really popular roguelike games. And that's because though NetHack has sort of incredible difficulty. I've never actually beaten NetHack and incredible like depth between the procedural generation and like the insane amount of character classes and how they play insane for the time amount of character classes and how they play. It's just again a really different game depending on sort of what you're trying to do. Also, weird self-directed goals you can kind of create yourself because of the little uh dungeon ecosystem inside of NetHack. Many things sort of affected other things or caused other things. So you could go on a run where say you want to rob every store until there's nothing left. So you get a pet, you train your pet up, you teach them how to steal things, you scout throughout the dungeon, you find the stores that are the best locations to get stuff from earlier, and so on and so on. You can plot kind of very different sort of little self-directed goals that aren't even necessarily based on beating the game. A scrub like me, even though I played probably for about 10 years, I played NetHack on a pretty regular basis. Later, I'll just quickly mention because it's a very similar kind of game. It was sort of a spiritual successor in some ways to NetHack was Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup. Pretty similar deal to NetHack, more modernized game design philosophy that strips out a lot of the kind of like warts and unnecessary aspects and mechanics and stuff like that. But over time, I actually sort of didn't like the direction that they changed the game in because both of these games are open source, completely free projects that are maintained by, you know, in some cases, different people over time throughout the years. So they're sort of their own evolving little things too. And then the kind of last part of my list here, the more current history. So for a very long time, um, I would play Slay the Spire as a comfort food sort of game. Again, I it was sort of accomplishing different things. The game gives you different difficulty levels, play with different classes, all that sort of thing. So, and then like my what's looking like it's going to become my new current comfort food game is actually Darkest Dungeon 2 in terms of total playtime. It's like fourth already or so on my Steam list of games in terms of playtime.
I was
wasn't
waiting
sure.
for you to say
Yep.
that.
I wasn't sure if I
I'll
would
say.
include it because I was in my mind it still didn't come out that long ago, but I mean it's been I think over a year at this point that I first started playing it. I have beaten the sort of, all the kind of normal levels, the sort of regular difficulty. Now I'm going back in and sort of beating it a different way again, picking different character classes. And I just found out recently there's actually going to be a huge update that adds a whole new game mode to the game. So it will definitely keep me coming back to it for a while longer. And yeah, so as I kind of mentioned, and as you probably noticed, in general, like all these games for me, it's like a comfort food game is a game that can either like put me in the zone as an action game and be something I can continually improve at. I'm not sure if my audio is affected by my cat who's tackling me, if you can see my video.
Kitty, kitty, kitty.
But either so like there's those action games where it's like that sense of flow and sort of like muscle memory improvement and all that sort of thing, like Geometry Wars, for example. Once you get a lot better, you start really learning kind of like manipulate and expect the way the black holes kind of affect the gravity of enemies. You start planning for sort of very different riskier routes to play, et cetera, et cetera. So there's like that side of the fence. And then the other for me tend to be turn-based games where there's a ton of depth and sometimes a lot of randomness that sort of enhances the uniqueness of every playthrough.
That makes sense. It's really you're sort of mixing the comfort, but still having the sort of thrill that comes with randomness, and that's literally what like Geometry Wars, Darkest Dungeon 2, and uh, honestly a little bit of Final Fantasy 1 with how unpredictable some of the encounters are and how buggy the game is.
Yeah. Oops, there's like 12 goblins now.
Or oh,
Yeah.
here's 9 wizards and you can't escape, and they do 80
Yep.
damage each, and your characters all have a total of 100 hit points. So
Oh no,
that's
my
it.
party full of red mages will never be able to take them out.
Nope. Oh man. So Stormrose Sky, what is one of your comfort food games?
Okay. Now, I have to narrow it down a little bit, and if these make it past the ADHD fixation obsession period, because that is a real thing, then that means something. Like I really love God of War and all of that and was obsessed while playing through it, but once I was done, I'm done. I got to go back to, even the DLC that came out for that Valhalla. I still not touched it because I was kind of done with it. But given that one of my comfort games is, no lie, Mexican Train Dominoes I just looked up the little studio that did it. Hang on, because I couldn't remember. Glowing Eye Games. And
Hmm.
I got it on the Nintendo Switch. And, I'm playing basically Mexican train dominoes against the computer. I don't need anyone else to play. There's no other human interaction. It is just me and the Switch playing dominoes. And some days that is, for an introvert, and especially working now a very extroverted position, teaching, there's some days end of the day I don't want to talk to anyone or hear anyone or whatever. So that Domino's game is fun and easy to get through, and it was fairly cheap when I got it. And normally it's $3.99, but I think I picked it up for 99 cents. So,
Nice.
them Nintendo sales are awesome. So yeah, that is my one for now. Outside of, I do have to comment, like some of the older Mario games, it's funny talking about how they don't play the same. I got the collection for that had, Mario 64 and the other two for the Switch. And I tried to play Mario 64 a little bit and just could not get back into it. Maybe I will again, but it has that been there, done that. Mario Odyssey, I will visit again to collect more of the shiny little star things that I may have missed and to make him go swimming. I have an obsession or a thing about making my characters swim in video games because I really can't swim myself. So, but or like having them ride horses. I can tell you, remember just like playing some of your video games just because I could make Zelda or Link ride a horse, whatever, back then on the 64. So,
Nice.
yeah. Yeah, that is that. I will stop there for now and save my other one till the second go around.
Nice. And it's really cool how we've got a interesting variety of comfort food games. But I'm going to throw you all for a curve and ask you, what is the most stressful video game that you've ever played, or maybe a specific genre, or is it a specific entry that you played and it just caused you such undue stress? And I'm gonna buck the order here because that's what stress is. It's just a sudden thing that you just don't know. For me, the most stressful video game that I've played is anything with stealth because I hate stealth. And I not only do I hate stealth, but I hate games that weren't meant to have stealth, and yet it has stealth as a thing. Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, I'm looking at you. So, what is one of the most stressful video games you've ever played? Again, I'm going to buck the order. Jamie Owls, I have a few ideas. What are some of the stressful games for you? But what would you say is one of the most stressful video games you've played?
So I hate, I mean, I play them because I enjoy them, but anything that requires a person or an entity that follows you. So an example, Mr. X from Resident Evil 2. Um, the part in the building where your character is running around looking for certain items, but you have to dodge Mr. X. That always stresses me out, especially when you hear the music that someone's approaching. And I do love all the Resident Evil games. Also, a lot of the Donkey Kong games stresses me out because a lot of the levels are hard. And I love Donkey Kong. I always thought they were fun, but there's certain levels where I popped a few gray hairs. So,
Is the whole following around thing a sort of leftover entity from being tormented from having the movie like Jaws on in the background? The dun dun
yeah, it's like
dun
that approach,
dun.
like something's approaching you and you don't know where.
Oh gosh. No, those are some good picks there. Again, bucking the trend. Let's ask Jason the 13th. Stressful games. And this is interesting because you have an even keel personality. So I'm curious, what would be a stressful game that you've played?
I was trying to Google the like genre of the game and I cannot figure it out because I can't think of it offhand. Um, I've played a few games where you're like in the ship, like old, like Super R type, or like the
Oh, the
old,
shmups.
like yeah, where you're just like a ship, or and I can't think of the plane one. Was it like 1980 something or
Like
19?
Gradius?
1942 was a
There we
really
go.
common
Yep.
one.
Yeah, where you're
Raiden was a
like
really
a
common
plane or
one. Yeah.
something, you're going through fighting and you got everything just raining down on you if you got to dodge everything. Those would probably be the most stressful games that I play. That genre.
Nice. Um, Astrimedes, how about you?
So amusingly, there are many top-down shooter games that I played in an almost comfort food kind of way. So those show up on the opposite side of the fence for me. Offhand, the ones I can think of are there was a game Thumper.
Oh, Thumper.
I really like the look of it. It's this kind of like really like heavy electronic sort of music rhythm game where you're sort of this weird metallic scarab on like a roller coaster track being assaulted by demons and stuff. Basically, it's the rhythm based gameplay is what makes it so stressful for me, and I suck at it. Like I play the Guitar Hero games, I played like Amplitude a little bit, whatever. I was at least average in general, I would say, with rhythm games, but I couldn't get the hang of this game, and like the presentation made it extra stressful. And I'll give honorable mention to my own Android game, Horde Lord, that is stressful both by and not by design in terms of the gameplay.
No, those are good. Those are good picks. And Thumper, it's crazy. I have yet to play that. I need to pick it up and try because of it being a music genre game.
I played it because I watched a GDC talk by the developers, and I really liked how they kind of talked about making the game and stuff. And occasionally when I do that, I sort of just buy a game sight unseen and just figure whatever. I gave them a few bucks for their cool talk that I just watched.
Nice. That's actually a really generous way of looking at that. Storm, how about you? What is a most stressful video game or type of game that you play?
Uh, the most stressful, I mean, at times, but it's one of my comforts. Fortnite can be stressful, but it's not. It's not like this. Mortal Kombat 1. I love the Mortal Kombats, but holy moly, Batman. In Mortal Kombat 1, I had to put it on super easy. And, when you put it on super easy, I expect that I'm not going to constantly get my butt kicked. I understand that, you know, the characters should like interact less than they do on any other level because at first when I'm going through the story, I want it on easy. Otherwise, I'll get discouraged from playing because, some of them fighter games, I really like them, but I'm not great at them. This one, oh my God. Um, I just had to bleep myself. I kept on checking to make sure that I was on the easiest I could be. And there were a couple of battles that I had to just put it away and come back the next day. And that's ridiculous. If I have it set on the super easy, I don't want it to be handed to me, but the battle shouldn't be taking me out like that. Or, it shouldn't be that bad. So there's maybe a little adjustment for them there somewhere because it's not fair. I don't know. I understand. I want the challenge, but at the same time, on very easy, I'm expecting the challenge to not be as difficult as
I'm
I
wondering
think it should.
if they're intending that to be like arcade perfect, because arcade Mortal Kombat games are notorious for being a ridiculously accelerated ramp up in difficulty, regardless of whatever difficulty setting that you pick on the arcade module itself. And it's meant to bilk the player out of quarters because you put a quarter in. If you die and you continue, you put a quarter in. It
Right.
literally lowers the difficulty that it has been ramped up so that you can have a better chance at beating whatever enemy you lost at. And then in the next battle, that's when it goes back up again. I'm wondering if that's what they're trying to emulate with Mortal Kombat 1 on consoles, is a general thought.
I That makes sense, and I wonder if they're trying to. And I love the Mortal Kombat series, but they are out of their minds with the new DLC and how much that it costs. It's basically a brand new game, 39.99 for a brand new like one little story and a couple of more skins, and that's just ridiculous. So that's going to be a pass for me.
Not as bad as Street Fighter 6 with the TMNT skins, where all four turtles are $60. And
That
they're just literally skins over existing fighters. They're not wholly new fighters. It's just a skin you would put over, like, I think Ryu or Ken or whatnot.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
that is utter ridiculousness. That is nothing but corporate greed in video gaming.
Didn't Mortal Kombat just charge for like I think it was like $10 for a new fatality too?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Oof.
That was I believe the Halloween one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Some not exactly new, but yeah, like just ridiculous corporate greed.
Thank
But
you.
people keep buying it, so
Right, but
they're
then
gonna keep doing it.
I believe they sweetened the pot by then including a Thanksgiving and a Christmas fatality in that with the Halloween one to justify the like $10 or something they charged for it initially when they got humongous backlash.
Thank you, David Laszlo. Thank you, WB Games. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
This would have been a dystopian skit like 15 years ago or whatever.
Damn you, horse
Right.
armor.
Horse armor. Hardicus, most stressful game or experience?
I got a cute couple little ones here. Speaking of horse armor, I love the Elder Scrolls games and Fallout, but when you get a follower that blocks a door and you cannot get through it, it drives me absolutely insane.
Yes.
And I have literally yelled at my monitor like, get out of the way. And that's one of the things that drives me nuts.
Damn you, Lydia.
Right? I love you, dog meat, but I hate you. The other one is like, I'm not a huge fan of timed games or levels or areas. I'm an explorer in games. Obviously, playing games like Skyrim and Fallout, like I search every nook and cranny I can find in those games. So being in a timed area really kind of irks me, or being under that crunch of something when I want to look and admire the scenery or look for a secret or whatnot. If we're going for like a specific game though, and as much as I enjoy it, and I've gotten much better about it in the last decade or two, or decade, but like World of Warcraft, when you've got a raid of, nowadays it's much lesser numbers, but like, back in the day it was 40 people, and like, you get some people making the same mistakes over and over again. It's just like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Like that kind of, so other people, that's my biggest pet peeve in video games. That's the thing that infuriates me.
Leroy Jenkins.
Pretty much, but
Yeah.
I've gotten much better about it. I try to take that, like, cheerleader approach of like, or coach, and like, okay, this is what we're doing wrong. Let's go about this route and see what we can do here. Everyone makes mistakes. Just let's pull through as a team, get together.
And trying to corral all that. Yeah, that's
It's like herding cats.
yes. Oh my gosh. Simbu, I left you last on purpose because I knew you would have either a really good one or you would have a good devil's advocate logic here. What is your most stressful game and or experience with video games?
Well, if we're gonna go with just experience in general, I've mentioned the game already today, and it's Princess Zora and her stupid water temple.
Oh my God, Jabu Jab. Oh no, I'm thinking of Adult Link. That's right.
Yeah, It's adult Link with the water temple, not kid Link with Lord
Jabu
Jabba Jabba,
Jabu.
Jabu Jabu, the big fish. Although that was a pain in of itself, but the water temple itself is just ridiculously back and forth and equip and unequip and equip and unequip, and they're like, oh my god, stop. But mine is actually going to be something along the lines of what Hillbilly Hardkiss had just said. Timed stuff. But not in the sense that I have, 5 minutes, in this part, because I love games like Until Dawn and the Dark Pictures Anthology, where those are timed. By all rights, those are timed. Especially if you like Jason the 13th, and I found out if he gets through his portion before I get through my portion ends. Or if I get through my portion before his portion ends. That the time itself doesn't bother me. What my thing is let's go with, for example, Lion King, the Elephant Graveyard, where you are climbing back and forth while the lava is rising up. That bothers me. Stuff like that in video games bothers the living G Willikers out of me. Okay, for the fact that, and it's gotten worse as games have become more complex, and as you can see, controllers have become more and more complex, because now instead of just hitting left and A, I've got to move the right stick to look in the direction. I've got to shimmy the left stick to move and to have the character, quote unquote, facing that direction. Then I got to hit the button. So, and when you get stuff like that, it inevitably it just gets up. And again, with limitations of computing power and things like that, you sometimes you're playing, you're not so much playing against the thing that's chasing you on the wall or rising up against the wall. You're fighting the limitations of the system you're playing on. like the
No, that's
limitations of the game itself.
Fighting
no,
the controls is
yes,
what you
yes.
say when the controls are bad a lot of the time, specifically.
And Simba just reminded me of another classic thing. Not the game itself being stressful, but let's go with another favorite one here, the Mega Man series. Not the games themselves that are stressful. One thing in particular that's kind of like that lava coming after you.
Oh, you're talking about
When
Quickman?
no, actually, no, that wasn't where I was going. I was thinking of every one of the little levels that have the blocks that appear and
Ah,
disappear,
Capcom
and you have to
blocks.
keep jumping to time each jump to catch them as they appear and disappear. That is the most stressful part of the Mega Man series.
Yes,
Like,
I don't know if that's more stressful or more annoying for me, but that is a darn good one.
And
God.
Simbu just made me remember that.
And Simbu made me remember Ori and the Blind Forest's surprisingly high amount of escape sequences that are in that. Like you get this cozy looking Metroidvania game, and then all of a sudden you got to escape the hell out because there's a giant owl that wants to come and pick up your cute little creature guy, and he wants to like pick you apart with his talons, or you have to escape this lava filling area. And apparently the second game of that has even more of those escape sequences, and that was my only critique with the first Ori game, besides it maybe being a little too kiddie. But like, yeah, I am like, yeah, I'm good. I don't think I'm going to be playing the second one. So Simba, you had some good feedback there.
Yep.
Definitely some good counter to all this comfort, but I think we need to be comforted a little bit. We got ourselves a little stressed here, and we'll finish this out with one more comfort game for each of us. Simbu, you said normally you don't like retreading games, and you already mentioned Fork Knife. Are you good? You got any comforting games, or or do you want to hit us with another stressful one?
He's lying. His comfort game is E.T.
He plays
He
it every
secretly has
day.
he
No,
secretly has an Atari in his closet. I've seen it.
no, it was his trip to New Mexico to dumpster dive for the ET cartridges.
And now we
Outside the
know.
black box, at the black box outside Roswell.
Yep.
I wonder if they actually would put a copy of ET in that box. You know how hilarious that would be?
God, I
It
Just
hope
would
they
be
did.
funny.
it would be a little like Easter egg thing, nothing like
Hmm.
crazy, but just somebody get a copy of the Atari 2600 version of ET, take it to the black box, the black mailbox in New Mexico, and just put it in there.
I
Just
bet
put
you,
it
I
in there
bet you
and leave it
somebody's
there.
done that. They had to have, you'd think.
And then everybody else in the world, okay, this is important. Everybody else in the world, keep your hands off it. Let us have one. Let it be one little thing where when you go to it, you open it and you kind of have a little. You take a picture up with it and you kind of laugh and go, ah. It'd be a fun little thing, but somebody's gonna get hands and be like, haha, this is from the black box from Roswell. Shut up.
And you said keep. I had a keep your wife's name. I thought you were gonna go with that, but um, Jamie Owls, do you have any other comfort food games that you wanted to mention, bring up? Because
Uh,
you mentioned Sims, Spyro Reignited, and the OG Super Mario games.
yeah, I guess I can include it's been a while since I played it, but Animal Crossing, just something to throw on when I'm not really in the mood to play a new game. Also not sure what I want to play, so I want to play something, but I figure Animal Crossing is another good choice.
That's a good one.
And yeah, I'm trying to think of others because I wouldn't say horror games could be a good comfort, at least not for me, even though I love horror games, but I think sometimes it's nice to play something cutesy.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. You're right. I don't remember seeing you play Animal Crossing in a good month, but
More than that, I would say.
yeah.
My
You're gonna
house is
have
probably,
roaches.
I know, I was
Yep.
just gonna say that I have roaches.
Weeds and roaches everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I'll mention, and I totally forgot about this, and this was something Astrimedes reminded me of. I'm gonna say comfort food games would be like Rock Band and the music genre games when I was really into them. Stuff like Rock Band 1, 2, and maybe a little bit of 3, even like Dance Central,
Mm-hmm.
Guitar Hero, a little bit of the Fork Knife Festival, and back in the day, it was maybe a little bit of frequency, but it was definitely amplitude. Like how much I played to overplayed that game. It was nice to be able to be able to have that sort of rhythm, try and get a really high score, and kind of see how well I could do. And it was also nice when the music would actually be good. So like, yeah, this can really jam out with that. Um,
Now, I'm gonna say, how was this not like almost number one on your list when you would invite us over to specifically play rock banding with you?
that, and I kind of miss that because like we could have like rock band parties and have all of us together. But like one of the nice things with rock band is like if I don't want people, if I don't want a people, I can just have the guitar and just play by myself. And that was what the beauty of it. But it's like if I want to people, like I can have you guys come over. We can have four people playing at once. And I'm surprised that they haven't tapped that little nostalgia egg any sooner. Although from what I'm hearing, Activision and both Epic Games are close to having something beyond Fork Knife Festival, but
Hmm.
that's rumor at this point. Um,
I thought with Rock Band 4 they added like a triple vocal track to it,
that was actually in Rock Band 3 as well.
to where yeah, you can have you can set up three mics and have three people singing,
And then
the three different parts.
you can have like the four different instruments because you could have drums, keyboard, guitar, and bass. So you get like seven people going at once. And that was the max on the PS3 was seven.
Right.
So, Hardicus, how about you? Do you have any other comfort food games beyond Civs 5 and 6?
Sure. So two of the other ones that I go back to more regularly are, and I've mentioned them before, Project Zomboid and RimWorld. It's mainly because of the modding community. Like the modding community keeps those games fresh and alive and interesting with all the different things they do. I haven't played it in a couple of years, but I used to play almost every year Shining Force 1 and 2. Those
Oh,
were also my comfort games. I absolutely love those games, and I so wish that they would have more of that kind of um, like. There's been a couple of new ones like Triangle Strategy and things like that, but I don't know. Nothing has felt like Shining Force since Shining Force.
I
I
need to get
loved Shining Force too. Yeah, I forgot
I need
about
to
It's
get
such a
into
those.
good
them.
game.
I need to get into them because like I liked Phantasy Star 4 on the Genesis and I started I think Shining Force 1. It was with the guy who has the little like towel on his back and make it look like a superhero cape.
Yeah, and
Um,
they actually had an updated version of it for I believe the Game Boy Advance or something like that, or Game Boy DS, where they added like I think two or three new characters. They expanded the storyline a little bit. If I remember correctly, one of the characters used like a card-based system that you could find the cards in the game. And it's the only time I ever saw that. I believe was on the DS, but I think it was a Game Boy Advance game. I can't really remember offhand. It's been a while.
Yeah, and Sega is starting a kick of sort of reigniting their old franchises up to and including Crazy Taxi and Jet Force Gemini or Jet Break Gemini being new games, new entries for those, and then the I can't think it's been a long day the
Golden
Ninja
Axe
Shinobi
also, right?
the what?
Are they doing a new Golden Axe too in that
Yes.
same series of announcements? That's the one that caught my eye.
Yeah, and so it just begs the question, where the flip are all the RPGs that they've made because a
Right.
lot of them are just classics and could Shining Force and Phantasy Star are by far the ones that could use new entries with the coats of paint.
I
So,
would even be happy with like the Cowabunga collection, only Shining Force. You get there was at least one Game Gear game, if not two. I don't believe they ever ported over Shining Force 3. So like you could, I mean, I would buy all the originals even,
And what
but I
about
would love
the
to see remakes or remasters of them too.
like the one on Sega CD as well? Like put that on
That's
there
right. Yeah.
because that I a couple of these are on the Sega Genesis Mini 1 and Mini 2. So just
Hmm.
throw make a like you said, Shining Force collection, make a Fantasy Star collection or something. Like there's money to be had. We want to
Oh yeah.
us old dogs want to spend it. So
Well, that's why I got that was it the Sega collection that came out a couple of years ago. Like I specifically bought it just so I could play Shining Force 2 on my, or well, it was either one or two, I can't remember which one, like on my PlayStation.
yeah, and those are really great deals because you get like 60 Genesis games for like you can get them on sale for like $15.
Hmm.
So, Jason the 13th, any other comfort food game or games you want to mention as we round things out?
The one comfort food game that would surprise everyone, Minecraft. I blame my nephew for getting me into Minecraft, and it is one that it is Legos on the console or PC, but it is literally. I like personally playing on survival mode because it gives you a little bit more of a challenge. But every now and then you get into creative and you just have to build stuff or and tear stuff down and keep building it, anything you can think of in there. So Minecraft is would definitely be a comfort because I keep going back to it. Heck, the last week or two now, that has been like the main thing I've been playing is Minecraft right now because kind of got into a kick on it and it's just been in my comfort food for the last couple weeks.
Yeah, I've been seeing you online playing that
Hmm.
a fair bit. So that's good though. For me, I think I could have totally seen myself being a Minecraft person if I was 20 years younger or if I too had a young sibling or a son or daughter or something like that. That would have been something I could have seen playing together because I don't want to poo-poo what they like. I don't want to yuck their yum just because like maybe
It
I'm
took
not
me a
gonna.
while to get past the graphics. I
Yeah.
did not want to play it because I did not like the blocky graphics.
Yeah, and then you saw how much of a piece of crap Roblox looks, and you're like, okay, maybe Minecraft isn't all that bad.
Yep, exactly.
Oh, Astrimedes is again as we're rounding out, and you hit us with Geometry Wars, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, because you said PS2 and you said Pro Skater 2, but to my knowledge, I don't know if it
I
came
was
out
gonna
on the
say that is
One of
PS2.
those. I'm not
PS1.
even sure what console I was playing. It was a strange time.
So I'm gonna say
1 and 2 were PS1.
I'm gonna say Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 is what you played. Final Fantasy 1, NetHack, Stone Soup, Slay the Spire, and Darkest Dungeon 2. Why am I keeping track of these? I don't know, but do you have one or two more comfort food games you wanted to mention?
Yeah, one other one that came to mind was FTL. I really liked the Steam. I believe it's been released. I actually don't know. I know it came out on iPads or something, mobile devices. Not sure where else it went. Might be only things with touchable screens or mice, essentially. But the game FTL I really liked and played for a long time. Again, randomness, all that sort of thing. I thought of one other stressful one, Crypt of the Necro Dancer,
Oh
because I
gosh.
don't actually find rhythm games stressful on their own in and of themselves, except for a couple of these examples. So maybe I sort of do, but like Guitar Hero, I never found stressful. There are ones I wasn't good enough to do, but what stressed me out about Crypt of the Necrodancer is having to sort of like plan my move in and Crypt of the Necrodancer is, all those really old tile-based games I talk about, like that's basically the core gameplay of Crypt of the Necrodancer if you remove all the music stuff. But like having to put like what feels to me like a fundamentally like turn-based game into something that's now a rhythm-based game just sort of like I love the game. I own it. I could tell pretty quickly it wasn't for me. Didn't return it because I still sort of like I love that someone did it. I think it's really neat as an accomplishment. I think it's impressive when people can play that game well because I sure can't, even though like that is my terms of those grid-based, turn-based games, like that's my bread and butter. But you add the whole rhythm element, making it time-based to me, again, kind of going back to the time-based thing ultimately, adding a timing element, a rush to something that I normally don't want to feel like a rush, like feels stressful to me. And I'll make one comment to Hillbilly Hardicus saying that dog meat getting in the way is stressful. Well, dog meat being programmed like that makes him realistic as a dog that you own. If he always stands in the
Very
doorway and is
true.
in your way, so he gets a pass. The other
What?
humans are
Jamie Owls,
stressful.
Fira, the actual Inferno Fox, doesn't do that, right? Jamie Owls? She never gets in the way.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There are a couple of times I almost tripped over her.
Yeah, especially
Okay,
when we're getting like big, heavy mattresses delivered at home, and she decides to stop in front of the delivery
Yeah.
guys and myself and you.
Or
So,
but
if I'm
but
carrying something and she's right in front of me and I can't see her because she's blocking my view.
but Astrimedes, unlike a real dog, you can't get around dog meat. A real dog, you can step over, you can step around, you can still get through that doorway.
Depends on the dog, I'll say.
I don't know. I've gotten through doorways with big old American with big old English mastiffs laying in it. So
that's too funny. And it's funny, so I was holding this up, the Cadence of Hyrule, which is Crypt of the Necrodancer crossed with The Legend of Zelda. And they had during the NSO, a demo of, oh, actually, it was a full game. You could play trial for 7 days. And I was playing it a bit. And after about a day, I stopped it because I'm like, if I keep playing this, I'm gonna want to own it, and I can't own it physically. So there's no point to own it because they discontinued it. They just had a reprint of it. So that this might end up being in my feed because it is a Legend of Zelda game. It's Zelda, and you can play either as Link or Zelda herself, depending on who you want to pick. And it's exactly like Astrimedes said, except again, it's Zelda. So it's like the best of two worlds for me because I enjoy the rhythm based craziness. Um, Storm, though, what is again, you are our last victim here. What is one or more of your favorite comfort food games?
All right. Well, I have to talk about the music games because I do miss those, and I honestly, part of me misses our 360 with the Connect for Dance Central and all of those because I used to love doing those and playing Guitar Hero and Rock Band. So I was really happy, at least, Fortnite has the Fortnite Festival, so you get a taste of the Rock Band um things in it. But my number one comfort, well, I have a tie for two. It's going to be Animal Crossing, and it's not only because I have to play to make sure I don't get roaches. It is, I can go offline and do things. I can, putz around the village and decorate things the way I want to, and I don't need to interact with anyone. I can just, interact with the villagers maybe, and that's about it. But my number one go to is also Fortnite. I've been Fortnite has what has saved them for me because I've been in love with this game ever since I played it 5, 6 years ago now. Is that they change it every so often, and that feeds the ADD, the ADHD obsession. You know, uh, yeah. Sorry, I lost words. Words are hard. So
They're
it
very
feeds
hard.
that because it changes them every so often. So things aren't the same. And just when it feels stagnant, there's something new. There may be seasons that I don't play quite as much because I didn't like what they did, but there are other
Cars.
parts. Yeah.
Cars.
Yeah.
what do
Forget
you
that
mean?
season.
She loved the cards.
Oh
It was her
yeah.
favorite thing.
My favorite, the whole world. As Simbu will know, though, playing some of the creatives, I've had stressful moments in there. I'm not great at platform jumping, so I understand his stressful moments of jumping things with lava, and the higher you go, the harder they get. Like I have spatial issues and viewing video games when to jump and how to jump, so that takes me a little bit. But That one, I don't know. Even if I don't feel like talking to anyone, I could play creative, but there are some days I don't mind getting on there and shooting some people. That sounds horrible, but it's great. It's, it's stress relief because you're not really harming anyone, but yeah. So definitely that one. And back when it was still online, Friday the 13th would have been up there, but since that is now defunct and you can't really play with anyone, I absolutely love that game. And just to be able to get online and play as Jason and chase people around was that was great times.
Nice. Yeah, no, those are some really good picks there, Storm. I can appreciate how Fork Knife has that mix of some when I first started playing it, some strangely good gunplay, like some of the better gunplay that I've experienced with like the shooters and everything like that, and just how they've expanded that sort of feeling or that sort of ability where I would say maybe I'm in the minority on this, but the gunplay in Fork Knife now is probably the best that I've seen it, and it's the most realistic, even though the game technically is based off of or based in like a type of a simulation. If I'm seeing the whole when your character dies and they kind of disappear off. But no, those are some good picks. Good picks overall for everybody, especially some of the stressful ones. I can't do stealth games. That's funny. And my best friend Mobster, he likes the stealth games. Some of his favorites are the Metal Gear Solids, and I
Yeah.
just can't do it. Just cannot do it.
I want
So,
to add something to Stormrosesky's second comfort food games. Um, Both you and I have the same introverted personality, so it's interesting when you say you play Animal Crossing that you don't really feel like talking to the characters, which I'm the same way. But it's funny when you play as Jason, you chase the people away. I see what you
Yep.
did there.
Yes. See? He
yeah.
understands.
Yeah, I don't want to people, so go away.
Exactly. And torture them for a little bit. So there you go. And it's perfectly legal and safe. And I don't look good in orange, and that has saved people. So there you go.
Oh gosh, too funny. So yeah, as we round things out here, just a huge shout out to our fantastic cast and crew for joining us for the Comfort Games. We will not be having a new episode for next week's as I've got prior obligations. And just again, thank you, our viewer or listener, for joining us. We really appreciate it. We hope that you have a great day. Parting shots. Any parting shots before we go, guys?
Nah, I already took mine with ET.
We're missing next week because we're all doing favors for our partners instead.
Yes. We
Yeah.
we're not going to say
Something.
what those favors are.
Yeah. All my answers would not be appropriate for this podcast. So
Takes a while. We need all of
yeah.
Tuesday night.
Well, now we
Still,
know what he's doing.
well, we know what Fox is gonna try getting us to do. And no, Fox, we're not washing your leopard printed underwear.
Okay, it's not leopard printed, it's Argyle. Argyle. Come on. You've seen it
Or
many times.
his
God.
many dickies, and don't forget the belt buckles.
It's surprising how many urine stains there are on these.
Well, let's wrap this up before something bad happens to us.
Yes.
Well,
Thank
we
you
already
guys.
aren't making any money off of this, so what worse can we get?
-0 times -0 is still zero.
So that and again, thank you guys, thank you the audience, and we will see you next time.